Hey, welcome into this edition of the GASOCast, episode 7 of the 23-24 basketball season. Hope you had a great New Year and a great Christmas. And we are here to bring you your favorite Texas basketball coverage. A couple things before we jump in. A cup of hoops with Mass and Blue. Going to be dropping soon, sponsored by Synergy, the Recruiting Simplified newsletter. Get some help with your recruitment, underclassmen and seniors alike. GASO FastBreak, we're hitting on tons of players this week. Kind of our coup de grace of the tournament season. And our GASO Extra was absolutely fire. We're discussing if we should even release that for free. Team rankings drop very soon. And then we got events coming. They're around the corner. Next Gen, Michael, March 3rd, 2024.
Yeah, next gen's going to be here sooner than we think. With a lot of the high school season, I wanted to just showcase our next gen event. We're going to have one this year at Duncanville Fieldhouse. So we're encouraging all the top 26s, 27s, and some 2028s that we're going to be inviting to come up to Duncanville. We want all the best in the state under one roof. It'll be fun matchmaking, creating those teams. And it's just going to be a really fun day of basketball. Great chance for us to evaluate the next generation of talent under one roof. Summer coaches and high school coaches, email me, mtimmons at greatamericanshootout.com with a list of your top 2028 so we can start looking at possible invitations. We're taking a limited amount of invites, so send us those in so we can start to kind of navigate that process. Excited for it. Last year was a banger, and this year is going to be even better.
Make sure you're following us at GASO Mass, at GASO Blue, and at iFilm Hoopers. We are still going to be providing coverage around the state. We got Synergy, we got Texan Live, we got NFHS, we got all the stuff. And I'm pretty sure someone will be live streaming out of Dallas every single game night. So that's fun. First segment, best game you saw or player performance, however you want to spin this, make it your own. Michael and I are going to team up because we've been going to a lot of games together, which has been really fun to bounce ideas and stuff like that. So, Blue, you're going to tip us off and kind of hit us with what you got.
Jaden Dean Vines comes to mind really quickly. And so my first holiday classic was right there at the Dallas ISD tournament, Kimball versus DeSoto. And I have to say, I kind of like the way Dallas ISD over the last couple of years, they have a little playing game to seed everybody. And I don't know if they were thinking that these were the two teams that were going to be the two to beat DeSoto, Kimball, opposite brackets, wind up meeting in the consolation, I believe. But Kimball, man, Jaden Dean Vines is the smoothest player that I've seen that just can stop, go action, reverse, changes angles, and just does anything that he wants to do athletically because he's just that much better than most people on the court. Now, he'll sit down, though, and start catch and shoot and banging in the threes. And overall, this Kimball team is an engine that I think they can. Because as they start moving up, they take a couple steps back. And I just really think that, the game against Dallas Kimball showed how good they could be and also what they were lacking a little bit on the point guard side of things. And so it was a fun game to watch just because it was up and down. Mass, you and I had kind of seen DeSoto a little bit on film. And so you're looking at two kind of heavyweights from the past go at it and try to find themselves a little bit of where they fit into the narrative of the state of Texas in basketball for this particular year. I think that Dallas Kimball will be okay and that they're going to have to fight a little bit more this year. And I think that's why it was such a fun game for me, because you saw a little bit of the old school name recognition and then how they fit in this year. And like I said, Jaden Dean Vines is really the calling card for that Dallas Kimball team.
Yeah, I'll keep that rolling here. We saw Dallas Kimball play last night, WT White. WT White did win, but just to kind of keep the theme of Dallas Kimball, JDV, JDV. Can we call you JDV, Jalen Dean Vines? I was going to dub it on Twitter, but I didn't want to be disrespectful or anything. But yeah, you're right. He's phenomenal. I also want to touch on Lance Carr, just an absolute tough guy. I call it a closet guy because I don't want to go in a closet with that guy. I'm not coming out. Lance Carr is. It just a total beast, mean, like just gets it done. However it needs to be. But on the other side, WT White got it done with loads of length, talent. They are deep. Michael, can you touch on more of what they did?
Yeah, when you look at WT White, you look at a they have what it takes to win any type of game. If you needed to slow it down and throw it inside, you have literally 2 7-footers on your team and a 6'7", 6'8" Isaiah Kalala inside. So check mark that if you want to play inside and bully ball. You need shooting, Steven Cruz, the Price twins. You got that. You need length, the Price twins again. They both look like freaks. They look like the Thompson twins out there half the time. You need strong guards. We talking about big guards, Jameson Thrower and Arden West. You got that. Picking up 94. They have all the makes of it. I'm just looking at them to see, okay, in a one elimination game, aka the playoffs, can they keep the turnovers down? Can they take advantage of their opportunities? If they can do just those two things, I mean, they're going to be very hard to beat. And they showed that yesterday. If you go look at YouTube's on my social media, everybody was playing above the rim yesterday, and it was an explosive game. And WT White, I saw more of a vision for them to go even deeper in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and I want to hit on Ben Price real quick. One of the best two-way performances I've seen this season. He guarded JDV and he scored the ball. He was electric in transition. He rebounded the ball, had multiple dunks, alley oops, and he just showed how versatile of a prospect he could be. Recently reclassed, and he was really really electric last night. And like you were saying, Michael, they have 5 or 6 dudes who we could have talked about as that in a single game situation who we could talk about like that standing out. So really fun game. Blue, you saw a game that was a clash of seniority versus youth. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, Clash of Lewisville is what I have on the notes here. You have two different teams on the spectrum here with Lewisville. Like you said, they go about 9 deep on the senior side of this team. I was kind of curious of how they would respond after getting after taking one on the chin a couple weeks back against Plano East. So they come out of the break and they go and they have to play a very young Colony team. Uh, we know about the 3-headed monster at the Colony with Spears, Green, and Bryce Dixon, and those guys look prime for the future of this basketball state. But Lewisville was able to really come out there and start manhandling them on the boards with their experience, with their little bit more bodies that they had, their strength, their muscles. So really, it was the two best teams in Lewisville. Maybe with Hebron behind them, but for this particular game, Lewisville really came out there and just flexed their muscles and said, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna still make this run, and we're gonna show who's kind of king of the town right now."
That's good. Michael, I'd be remiss if we don't talk about the Plano East versus Stony Point game. We were there. We saw 1 versus 2. We put out a ton of content about it, but I just want to kind of rehash it right now. Uh, it delivered in every way, shape, and form. Physicality, defense, toughness, late game heroics, everything kind of a makings of a 1-2 matchup. That's what you wanted to see. And I'd like you to expand more so on the player side, and I'll jump in with you when you kind of hit on it.
Yeah. Last summer, I went to Vegas for Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, and that was 1 versus 2, 1A versus 1B. And when you're sitting there, you're very thankful because you don't get those type of matchups too often in that space. So when I'm at the CBI championship, getting ready for tip off, I'm like, there's nowhere else I'd rather be right now than legit 1 versus 2 in the state going at it. So one, I want to say, like, we're very thankful to get that game. And I felt the energy, I felt the buzz, and I felt the anticipation because even at tip off, we were talking about predictions, and I mean, they were just both ways. But yeah, looking at our list, right away, the colossal matchup: DJ Hall versus Josiah Mosley. Just two forces and very similar games. They're both able to play inside and out. Both I mean, if you haven't seen either of these guys play, some of the old heads are probably like, why are those guys at the perimeter stepping out, shooting the jump shot? Nah, because that thing's legit, that thing's smooth, and they're knocking it down in big time moments down the stretch.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, here and there. No, they needed a bucket. They were able to face up 17-footers cash. The one thing I want to talk about on Stony Point side, I've seen Stony Point quite a bit, and we like to talk about stock risers on GASOcast. Landon Short and Uzziah Button have been going back and forth as my stock risers for that team. I think Landon Short early on, like starting to assert himself, didn't play on the shoe circuit, played huge for GASOs. But Uzziah was on the EYBL with pro skills. But Landon started to assert himself, and now Uzziah Button's coming out doing crazy things for that team. And you almost have to look at it and be like, those two guys are probably guarding each other quite a bit in practice and making each other way better.
Yeah.
That's just a nightmare, those two going at it. But then when you're looking, I talked about on GASO Extra, my first tweet of the night was Jordan Mizell. And nothing other than and so a lot of times I'll add a question mark because I don't like to be too bullish about my takes. But no, I said straight up, He's the best rebounding guard in Texas. No question mark. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But then also people were like, it's not even close. And I was like, okay, wait a second, because I don't want to. I stood firm, but then people stood firmer than me. So I was like, all right, that's a good take. But yeah, he set the tone for the physicality, and I knew it was going to be a long night for either team if both teams matched the intensity level.
He had 5 rebounds. He had 5 rebounds in 4 minutes. I loved Isaiah Brewington. I don't think he gets tons of notoriety for this team. He's just a steady force, knocks down shots, gets everybody involved, takes charges, really defends. And then Narit Kavinich. I think I'm going full sin trying to say the name right, but Narit is really, really
big
good.
Dog.
Best
big
6
dog.
man in the state. Best 6 man in the state. Period.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Period. And that team is just super deep. Coach Wester does a great job. And then on the other side, Stony Point, phenomenal.
I saw the game leading up to their semifinal games, and then of course y'all saw the championship game. The one thing to keep in mind here is that both of these teams stayed focused on what was ahead of them. They weren't looking too far, trying to make sure that they played the game not to get to that other point, but just to win that match that was in front of them. And I think that goes into a lot of the psyche of both of these teams, is that they're playing in each moment. And so, like Michael said, I mean, Button and Short, they're being relied on by the upperclassmen too. They're looking for each other. This is a very close-knit team. They haven't been together for necessarily as long as Plano East has, but they came up short last year. They know what that's like to be right on the brink of heading to San Antonio. So this was, like Michael said, I think he touched on it. This was a very important midway stoppage point to have one of the most important games in the state.
All right, moving in. This is going to be a very short segment, but it's going to be a very impactful segment, I'd say. I don't know how confident we feel in saying this, but if we're creating if we're stirring the pot a little bit, that's okay. That's what we want, because we want to hear from you as well. So the dust is settled. Who's your champ? 6A, 5A, 4A. Rattle them off for me, Blue.
I just deleted mine. I'm starting over.
I'm going to 6A. I'm going to go with Plano East. I think that we've talked a lot about them. 5A, Lancaster. Yes, the rankings are dropping. San Antonio Memorial, Betts Memorial is number 1 in the state, but I think as we get further down the line, Lancaster is just going to be that much harder to stop. And then you go to 4A, Fort Worth Eastern Hills. I don't know if I've seen a team at their level that, besides Faith Family, but Faith Family has spent most of their time out of state playing. So from what I've seen from Fort Worth Eastern Hills, they're just they're gearing up for a long run in the playoffs.
Michael,
God,
you want me to go? I'll give you an extra second.
Appreciate it.
All right, I'll 6A. I'll go Plano East. I just love they can play in any type of game. In any type of way. If you want to get tough with them, they'll just get tough right back. They just savvy senior team, year of the team. 5A, I'm going to go Lancaster. I saw them perform really well against Colleyville Heritage. I love what they bring And when that guard plays on, look out. And then 4A, I'm going to go with Oak Cliff Faith Family. I'm going to the Carter Booker T game on Saturday, so don't get too mad at me, Coach Love. That pick can change.
At least it's on Sunday.
I'm going to put the team that just knows, who's been just getting it done year after year in the postseason, there right now. Again, I think it's wide open, but really, really fun. Michael, I still see you have the note blank. I'm making you choose a 6A champion.
All right, I'll start by saying this. I think the 6A champion is coming out of Region 4 this year.
Oh!
But I'm going to pick Stony Point. I wanted to say Brennan, but I think Stony Point playing that Plano East game will do wonders for that team. And at the biggest stage, they have the gamers that I just think will step up even more. And they didn't particularly play the best game against Plano East, so I still think there's some more meat on that bone. But there's a world where we all, like I said, I don't feel bad saying this because I don't think anybody knows who's going to win this thing this year. But there's a world where I could be way wrong because there's a lot of other teams I love a lot. Going down to 5A, San Antonio Veterans Memorial, with no shot clock, I think they're just one of the more patient teams that won't get rattled. And I'm looking at possibly a Lancaster Vets Memorial game. And I just like that Veterans Memorial knows who they are. And DeMarion Dennis, I saw him go baseline and dunk on a kid out of nowhere just like last night. So I think that's swayed my opinion very quickly because they have the giddy up also to play with anybody. And then 4A, when you're looking at, who is this Eastern Hills team with these young cats, and they go out and beat a North Crawley team. And I know they were up for the game, but you're going to be up for playoff games as well. So I'm going to take the young and hungry cats that are over there with some real toughness on their end. So I'm going to go forward with Eastern Hills and 4A.
Really deep team too.
Should I start the controversy of that San Antonio Vets Memorial would get a 1 seed and Lancaster,
no, don't do this.
the 5 losses would be number 4 and they have to play each other in the first round? Just saying. Okay.
Well, in the state semifinal.
Yeah.
Hey,
okay.
At that point, it's all hard. So tough. That's my take on it. Go win a championship.
Facts.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for tuning into this GASOcast. We will see you next time.